to go.
Welcome to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Bob, it is week 5 already coming up.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm going, it's crazy.
You know, we count down as we start counting down about 125 days to kickoff. It seems like it takes forever to get here, but once it gets here, it seems like it's like in fast motion.
Yeah.
And forward motion, it keeps rolling. But we're about week 5 coming up. We're about halfway through the season. It's an 11-week season. They play 10 games within that 11-week period, and then it's the playoffs. And the initial RPI came out today, and Navarre is in the top 8. So if the season ended right now, Navarre would be in the playoffs. So they are in the top 8.
Okay.
And you have to be in the top 8 or 8. If you win your district, you're automatically in.
I see.
So this Irish Bill, the Seminole Bob. This is week 5 Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. We're here in Navarre on a beautiful, beautiful fall day.
It really feels good outside. Driving into work, you noticed that it was 80 degrees, and I said, "Oh my God, it's going to be a hot one." But it turned out really nice.
It got up to about 85, 86 for the high, and now it's back into the 70s. And I think by Friday morning they're talking for the mid to upper 50s, and that's ideal. And we'll be on the road this Friday as we'll be heading over to Tallahassee, heading over to the stadium there, the fairgrounds in Tallahassee, to broadcast the Leon-Navarre game. Not a district matchup. The last two teams, they've only met once in 2019. Navarre came out on top 31-28 over Leon. In fact, they are the only team, well, other than Florida High, that Navarre has beat in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I remember our last time there in the stadium. It was not against Leon.
It was against Leon. That was the first game.
That's right.
First game was against Lincoln. The night that Grady Kelly went for 7 sacks in one night, they lost 35-20.
I missed that game.
But our last game there in Tallahassee was the 31-28 win over Leon, and what a big night for Jaden Rivera and for Jaden Antonio. As they both rushed for over 180 yards on the night, and the Raiders prevailed. They got off to a slow start, and they came back and pulled that game out and held on in the end.
Well, we have a victory to talk about this week.
We do. Yeah. And it's always nice to talk about a victory. Navarre got down. The way it looked, opening kickoff, they come down there. We went inside because there was a threat of weather. And so we stayed inside. And on the first series, Tate started out at midfield, 5 plays. And they were just like, Navarre was hitting but wasn't wrapping up early.
Right.
And they just went right down the field in 5 plays and was up 7-0 before the fans even got settled in the stands.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a long night. I just didn't know how Navarre was going to respond coming off a rare loss. And the train that got to the top of the hill, and it was like a roller coaster.
Yeah, so it just took Tate a minute 53 to get on the board. A 15 run by Andre Colson. He had a big night. And William O'Brien with the extra point. It was Tate up 7-0. But the Raiders got their first possession, and they answered right back, courtesy of a 40-yard Kyle Chambers run. And what a run it was as he went into a pile on the right side. And it looked like he was going down, and somehow he maintained his balance and went down the right sideline and for the score. The extra point was no good at 7:20. The Raiders trailed at the end of one, 7-6.
Yep. I thought they were going to blow the play dead for forward progress. And the next thing you know, he bounces out of the pile and zigzags his way to pay dirt.
Now, one thing I've noticed with this team, like I said, no returning starters on this offense.
Right.
But one thing I've seen out of Chambers Chambers and Derek Percival is their toughness. You can hit them; they're not going to go down on the first hit, especially Percival. I don't know. There was one hit in the Milton game that he took, and he just bounced right off, kept going.
Right.
So I'm liking the toughness out of those two right now, Derek Percival and Kyle Chambers.
I agree. I think as leaders, they're really beginning to gel. They're really becoming. I mean, normally, 99 times out of 100, your quarterback's going to be one of your captains and this and that. But the leadership on the field, some good decision making by Kyle Chambers, to be able to stay away from the interception, use his feet or throw it away. It's improving. I like what I see, and I think he and Percival are big inspirations on that offense.
And another young man, another senior that's also stepping up is tight end Chase Richardson.
Yep.
2 touchdown receptions on the season. He's the second leading receiver behind Derek Percival, and he always seems to come up with the big catch when they need it. And good to see that out of the seniors. They're stepping up, all 33 of them.
Yep, and if it's near him, Richardson will catch it. And our quarterback's not afraid to go to him, and that's important, to look for the tight end as a check off, a second or third look.
And we head on to the second quarter with Tate up 7-6. Tate gets right back on the board. This time a 80-yard pass across the middle to Colston, and he takes it to the house. He does the rest after catching it about 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. Kicks good, and it's 14-6. Tate on top, and the crowd a little restless at Navarre early in the second quarter.
Yeah, sure was. It just seemed like how easy that Tate made it look at times. And again, you mentioned it at the top of the show, not wrapping up some basic defensive technique that you teach from Little League all the way up. And I don't know if they're trying to strip the ball, but I'm sure their defensive coaches have been hammering on the defense about that.
Most definitely, but that would be all the points for Tate on this night, as the defense would stand tall the rest of the game. Raiders back on the board at 4:04. Kyle Chambers' second touchdown run of the night. This one from 33 yards out. 2-point conversion, no good. So the Raiders had cut the lead to 2 at 14-12. But they get on the board one more time at the 1:30 mark. A 30-yard pass from Kyle Chambers to Derek Percival. 2-point conversion was good as Chambers found right in the end zone. And it was 20-14 Navarre, the most points they had scored all year in the first half.
Yep, that was a good way to go into halftime.
And then we go into the third quarter, no scoring. It was silent, good defensive effort by both teams in the third quarter to shut each other out. We head to the fourth quarter with Navarre driving. This time, another Kyle Chambers run, this one from 60 yards out. 2-point conversion was good as Chambers found Terrence Marshall, and the Raiders had themselves a 28-14 lead. They would finish off the scoring at 4:14 on a 4-yard run by Sebastian Melendez, his first touchdown rushing of the season, and Devin Wright with his first extra point.
Yep, following the footsteps of his brother. Didn't his brother kick some, too?
He did a little bit. Starting his sophomore year, he filled in the big year. I mean, I know he had at least over 50 extra points that his sophomore year. The second leading scorer in Navarre history, right behind Michael Carter. Is glad to see him getting some carries for the Jets this past weekend, one of his best weekend so far.
Yep.
But so Chambers finishes the night 12 of 24 for 103 yards and a score. He also was a leading ground carry as he had 6 carries for 139 yards and 3 touchdowns. The special teams, Percival doing it all again. He was asked to do the kickoff duties as well. And he punt return, kick return, kickoffs, punts.
Sells tickets.
Sells tickets, sells popcorn in the concession stand.
Mr. Inspector Gadget.
Babysits before all games.
Probably so.
And but that's a great effort there by the offense. Now we move over to the defense. A third straight solid night for Devin Wright. 16 tackles, 6 solo, 10 assists. And but he was helped by Christian Caballero, who's having a great season as well. 10 tackles for him, 6 solo and 4 assists. The Raiders just continued to get it done with a lot of different players that are running in and out on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and that comes in handy if injury bug creeps up, or if you've got to quarantine kids and things like that.
Most definitely. Raiders with 21 first downs, didn't turn the ball over at all. They took 2 away. So on the season, they are a +1, as they have turned the ball over 3 times on the season. They're +1. They've had 4 takeaways. But early on, it's Chris DeCourt and Kyle Chambers, your leading rushers. 230 yards for DeCourt, 205 for Chambers. And Chambers, your leading passer, 52%, 251 yards. 3 touchdowns and no interceptions so far for Kyle Chambers. He's also the leading scorer with 5 touchdowns, 30 points overall. The Raiders, going into the game Friday night, had only scored 1 touchdown in the first half. Well, they took care of that with 3 in the first half on Friday, and then they added 15 in the fourth quarter. So 2-1 record. Is that what you kind of, well, we didn't really know what to expect with the offense with no returning starters.
Yeah, exactly. That makes everyone nervous, not only the coaches, but the fans, the broadcasters. And so, it's only natural. Chambers, as I mentioned, stepping up, showing the leadership. Devin Wright on defense, Kyle Chambers and Derek Percival on offense. But, one thing about Derek Percival, with being Mr. Gadd.
Joe checking in.
Hey, Joe.
Joe Settle, our resident Niceville Eagles fan.
Can we say go? Can we say go Eagles?
You just did.
Okay. Can we say Roll Tide?
You can. I'm not going to.
One thing about Derek Percival, when college coaches take a look at film and sees how flexible he is, that shows not only his agility and being able to learn different positions and do different things, but his willingness and his heart to do it. And some of those things are intangibles that college coaches look at. Obviously, he's never said no. If you've asked him to play defensive line, he'd probably say yes. Ask him to play running back, he'd probably say yes. Ask him to be 4th-string quarterback, he'd probably say yes. And I think that's important.
Most definitely. Yeah. His flexibility reminds me a little bit of Dante Wright.
Yep.
Not as quick as Dante. Not too many people as quick as Dante.
No.
But his flexibility is something that is needed for an offense that needed some leadership and plays quite well on the defensive side of the ball at cornerback as well. Had his first pick on the season last week.
Yep.
Very crucial interception as Tate was driving into Raider territory. But just a man and a Johnny on the spot in all occasions.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
and being a wide receiver doesn't hurt.
No.
On defense.
And a lot of people don't know is this young man, this is only his 2nd year of organized football. He did not play football till his junior year of high school.
That's hard to.
But is the athlete.
And he was at Navarre the whole time.
He was.
Did he play
He plays
any other
different sports? I believe it's either basketball or soccer. I can't remember which one, but both require a lot of athleticism, and he brought that to the football field, and it's showing. We're going to move right. We're going to do something a little bit different after we talk about the stats. We're going to move right into our power rankings, our large school, our small schools, and we had some special efforts this past week.
Mercy.
Not only the young man from Baker, who is our offensive player of the week, Caleb Wagner, who broke Derrick Henry's a 9-year-old record of 25 carries, 535 yards rushing in a game, 6 touchdowns. Through 2 games, 29 carries, 802 yards, 401 yards a game.
So by his next game, he could very well pass the 1,000-yard mark in a season, which.
And they got tomorrow night. They host Northview. a Thursday night game. I was thinking about sneaking, but then we got a long day on Friday.
Yeah.
So I may just stay home and listen to it somewhere. I'm sure it's on either on Facebook Live or something. We can find it somewhere.
Yep.
But what an effort. But he wasn't the only star in that game. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself as we want to go over our power rankings. First, we had a lot of movement last week.
Yep.
Niceville, they didn't go anywhere, and they deserve that top spot right now as they beat Pace 41-13. Mosley takes the biggest jump into that number 2 spot as they took out Lincoln rather easily, 42-14. Coach Tommy Joe Whidden is getting it done and has the Dolphin faithful believing over there
And he
in
did
Panama
that
City.
at Pensacola, Washington, too.
He
first
sure
year,
has.
I believe.
And
So-
West Florida moves into the 3rd spot. They're 3-0 as they beat Arnold 51-0. Gulf Breeze back into our rankings. They jump all the way up to number 4 at 4-0 as they took out Milton last week 28-21.
Wow.
Crestview lost to Rickards. They stayed in the top 7 at number 5. Navarre at number 7 last week moves up to number 6. Milton falls to number 7 as they lost to Gulf Breeze. But knocking on the door, there are teams like Washington with the big win last week over Escambia.
Right.
If they continue their play, I'm sure they will be hopping into the top 7 here rather quickly. They're under first year, and former player, Washington player Ryan Anka is their new head coach in his first year over there at Washington. That's the large schools. The number 1 stays at the top in the small schools as well as Baker barely beats South Walton in an instant classic, 49-48.
Yeah, I've got to find that somewhere on YouTube or somewhere to watch that game. And you can't sometimes you're just going to have to pause it. It was crazy. Can you imagine how much running those officials did in that game between the passing from South Walton and the running on by Baker?
And Bluntstown moves up to that number 2 spot as they take out Freeport 55-17. Weeks ahead, there's a showdown coming up between Baker and Bluntstown. It should be an interesting matchup later on in the season. Well, it'd be interesting to see if they're both undefeated when that happens. And I don't see anyone stopping either one of those teams
I don't either.
right now in 1A. South Walton, they dropped once. I actually think that they moved up a spot. I think I had them at 4 last week. They move up to 3 with the loss because Sneeds took the loss to Holmes County, which was kind of a surprise to both of us.
Yep.
Catholic stays in at number 5. They were idle last week. Port St. Joe beat Weewalt 34-0 at number 6. And Freeport lost to Bluntstown, and they dropped to the number 7 spot. And that's our large and small schools. We already talked about our offensive player of the week, Caleb Wagner. Well, it's just hard to imagine 27 yards a carry in his first 29 carries. The numbers like that. And I saw an interview with him last night on Channel 3, and it was basically like it doesn't faze him. I mean, it's like we were expecting something like this, and they just kept giving him the ball. What people ask, well, why didn't they give you the ball more in the first game? As you know, at 4 carries for 267 yards. He goes, well, we were ahead quite a bit, and coach wanted to get other players in there, and we were secure with our victory, our win. So that's why I only carried 4 times, and they had a tough opponent coming up last week in South Walton. What a game that was! Our defensive player of the game, we got to watch him play last week as Tate's Cabron Purifoy registered 19 tackles in that 35-14 loss to Navarre. So there's your offensive player of the week, Caleb Wagner from Baker. Who else? And Cabron Purifoy from Tate, your offensive and defensive players of the week. We're not going to talk about all the performances. You can go out to my Facebook page, group page, Irish Bill's Twist on Sports, and you can go out to my website, irishbillsports.com. It's out there on my blog, and you can look at all. But we are going to recognize a couple of these guys. I mean, South Walton's quarterback, Kemper Hodges, what a night. 25 of 40, 450 yards, 6 touchdowns. Having another Kemper-like season.
Yep.
And Holmes County's Colby Jones, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. And now let's move on over to the wide receivers. Special talent over here, tight end P. Sperling from South Walton. So while Caleb was having his 535-yard performance, as Pierce was having his 13 reception, 318 yards in receptions and 5 touchdowns on the night as they were synced up, Kemper and Pierce last week. Holmes County, Jake Riley, 6 receptions, 174. North Florida Christians, I forgot to write his name down here. Escambia's Aiden Freeman, 7 receptions, 165 yards. And Niceville's Azariah Thomas, once again, 5 receptions, 153 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And I think he was at Ben Hill Stadium on Saturday watching the Alabama Florida game as well. What a classic that one turned out to be.
And was he at the game, or he was invited as
he was there as a visit. I don't know if it was an official visit or unofficial visit, but he was in the stands for that game.
Yeah.
Our running backs, Chipley's Harrison Atkinson. On any other week, he would be our performer of the week. 17 carries, 325 yards rushing for Chipley's Harrison Atkinson. And Mosley's Casey Boyd, 22 carries for 204 yards and a touchdown. And Choctaw's Cole Tabb continues to get it done here in 21 carries, 152 yards and 3 touchdowns. We're only going to talk a couple defensive players. Devin Wright from Navarre, 16 tackles, a tackle for loss. North Bay Havens, Aiden Ginn, 15 tackles, 10 solo, 5 assists. Our special teams players, Carson Hepworth from Gulf Breeze, averaged 45 yards on 3 punts. Washington's John Michael Goudreau, 3 punts, 42.0 average. Baker's Judah Morris, 7 for 7 extra points. And Mosley's Jonathan Harris, 6 for 6 on his extra points.
We'll get to see the Boyd running back from Mosley on homecoming, I do believe.
Yeah. Normally you schedule teams that you're supposed to beat on homecoming, but I don't think that's going to be a tough game. I mean, look, they've scored 42 points exactly in each of their first 4 games. They're 4-0, and they've only given up 20 points. So they've outscored their opponents 168 to 28 through the first 4 weeks of the season. And normally you'll get those Mosley offenses that used to run the old wing T,
right?
A lot of misdirection. This team likes to throw the ball. This team likes to run the ball. They're going to mix it up under Coach Tommy Joe Whidden.
Baker runs the T, don't they?
They run a lot. They run 99% of their plays. They only threw 2 passes on Friday night, and I think they completed both of them. And very high percentage passing team, but they're going to beat you on the ground. And be interesting to see that game tomorrow night up against Northview. But your Super 7 large schools, Niceville, Mosley, West Florida, Gulf Breeze, Crestview, Navarre, and Milton. And our small schools, Baker, Bluntstown, South Walton, Sneeds, Catholic, Port St. Joe, and Freeport. And once again, our offensive players of the game, Baker's Caleb Wagner and Tate's Quiberon Purifoy. And it's time to head out for our first commercial break on Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. He's Seminole Bob. I'm Irish Bill, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average, with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Well, welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports. Seminole Bob with Irish Bill here in Week 5. We're at Culver's in downtown Navarre, and the offer still stands. I'm surprised that, Bob, nobody's took me up on my offer so far.
I haven't.
All you need to do is, if you're in the area and you're watching our show, hop in your car, come over to Culver's, and I will buy you dinner.
Just come to the back room, say hi.
Might even get you on for a couple of minutes, just if you want to, but I mean, I got like a $10 bill or $15 in my pocket, just burning a hole, waiting for that first person to come on over here.
Burning a hole
In my pocket.
Yeah, buddy.
We're gonna move on to our picks already.
We got some games tomorrow, I think.
We do. We got 2 games tomorrow night. Northview's traveling over to Baker. Tough opponents back-to-back weeks for Northview, and they're 1-2 on the season. Baker 2-0, and Holmes County is 3-1. They're heading to Jay looking for their first victory, but Holmes County has been playing rather well this year. So let's go over our picks from last week. We tied again.
Okay.
We both went 18-6, pretty solid. 75%. Anytime you get 75% on picks. That's pretty solid. So you maintain your 2-game lead on me on the season in high school. And the games that we missed together, we missed the Gulf Breeze Milton game, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
I took Lincoln, you took Mosley, so you got that one right. We both missed the Wakulla-Godby game. A tough loss for Godby, 10-9 in that game. We both and you lost the Crest. You took Crestview,
right?
And I took Rickard. So there's our one different game apiece. Then we watched Sneads fall at the hands of Holmes County, and then Childs beats Madison County. We did not expect that, especially after Choctaw had just ran all over Childs.
Yes, and Madison County on the road usually does pretty well. And that wasn't too far of a drive, but wow, yeah.
So it's time to make our picks this week.
Sounds good.
And I came with a pen.
The
pen
pen.
is mightier than the sword.
I have a backup.
Gosh, we came prepared tonight. Usually one of us leaves one at home, and or some nights we both leave them at home. We don't have a pen at all. We don't have a pot to pee in?
We don't have it, yeah. And we one night we did borrow from Culver's.
We did. And you know what? I'm a personnel guy, and Bob's a teacher. We always have a writing utensil.
You got to.
You got to, all the time. And so for us, neither one of us to have one, it just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
I know that's pretty intriguing talk right there.
That's a very deep subject.
Oh, Phil Tiza checking in. Coach, thanks for checking in tonight.
I'm the commish.
You're the commish?
Yes, I guarantee to win.
Well, thanks for checking in, Coach, and great effort by your players last week.
Oh,
Come up just a little bit short.
Gosh.
Look for big things out of the Seahawks this year over there in the South Walton area. I mean, what a program they're starting to build over there. And Coach Tiza not only went through a tough coaching season, he became a father last year as well.
He sure did.
And
It's
so
fitting him
his
very
little
well.
one is growing over. I'm pretty sure she's over a year old now. I think it was last summer, if I remember right.
Yep.
I may be off a little bit in my timing, but thanks for tuning in tonight, Coach.
Coach, yeah, absolutely.
And, let's pick some games, Bob.
Let's do it.
We got Northview 1 and 2 heading to Baker. I don't think this is going to be much of a game,
No.
and we're going to see a lot more of one Caleb Wagner.
Yes and no. You mentioned, I think they were asked why. They asked Wagner how come he only carried the ball 4 times in that one game. It's because they had the game in hand. This may be another one where his numbers aren't exceptionally high, maybe 150, 200 again, but wanting to rest him and
15, Coach checking back, said, thanks, it was a great game. A lot of history makers, 15 months. And the effort by Pierce Sperling, we knew the guy is 6'6", plays tight end. You can even line him in wide out position. And we're already committed to play at Georgia, only a junior. And but he'll be missing Kemper and Cade Roberts next year because both those young men are seniors. So it'll be interesting to see how South Walton figures out the rest of the remainder of this season. Holmes County going to Jay. Holmes County 3-1. Jay struggling at 0-4. I'm going to go with Holmes County in this one.
yes, sir. Bonifay Holmes County. Are they the Blue Devils?
They used to be. I'm not sure if they still are or not. I usually am up on my mascot, my nicknames and everything, but
because they were called Bonifay one time.
they weren't. And they were the Blue Devils previously. I'm starting to wonder if they are still them. We'll check when we go to our next commercial break. We'll do a check on that. Next, we got Navarre heading over to Leon. The only team that Navarre has beaten over in Tallahassee. They beat Florida High here at Navarre early stages of the Navarre Raider program.
Right.
When Navarre was playing schools their same size about that time. But Leon coming in hosting, they're playing at the fairgrounds. We'll be doing that game live at 7 o'clock Eastern time, so that's 6 o'clock here local. You'll be able to tune on to IrishBillSports.com, or you can go to our YouTube page, Irish Bill Sports, and catch all of Navarre Raider football, because everybody else won't be starting until 7 or 7:30 over here, so you can catch our game and then go watch or you can just stay with us.
Coach Caesar said they are still the Blue Devils.
Okay.
I refereed some football refereed some games over there, and I still have that coach's voice in my ear. That's offsides. That defensive guy's offsides. His chin strap is offsides.
You know, I did a baseball game over there for Catholic a few years ago when I was still working with Jock Jive, and right in the middle of my broadcast, it was a playoff game, and someone unplugged my equipment. It was right in the middle of my broadcast, and I was like, everything just went dead, and I'm like,
They
what?
stepped
What?
on the extension
And I
cord.
turned behind me, there's a couple of kids back there playing by my extension cord, and I'm like, really? So I had to go back and plug it back in and reboot everything and finish out the baseball game. But
Yeah.
well, I'm going with the Raiders on the road. Look to go to 3-1 on this season.
Yeah.
And stay unbeaten against Leon.
I agree.
This next game is going to be rather interesting. Gulf Breeze 4-0, off to one of their best starts in quite a while.
Yeah.
Going to Pace, a tough team. They ran into a buzzsaw last week in Niceville. They lost to Choctaw in the last seconds of the game. Should be an interesting matchup, and I'm going to go with Pace in the upset this week.
Okay. I'm going to go with Gulf Breeze in the win on the road.
Next, we head over to Crestview, a Okaloosa County battle between Choctaw and Crestview, both 3-1 on the season. Choctaw playing a lot better since they got humbled by Niceville a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And they're heading on the road up to I always forget the name of the stadium up there.
Jack Foster Stadium.
Jack Foster
Former
Stadium.
School board member.
Great food up there. Great concession stands up there at Crestview.
Mm-hmm.
Great eats. And this is going to be a tough contest. I believe this is Crestview is in 7A. Choctaw has dropped down to 6A. They're still at 6A in District 2. Bulldogs tough to beat at home. Tough loss last week to Rickards. I'm going to go Crestview to get back on the winning track.
I'll go with the Bulldogs as well.
Next, we had Tate 1-3 out of Escambia. Escambia team kind of hard to figure out.
Wow.
The last couple of weeks, they took a big loss over at Cairo. Is it Cairo?
Cairo.
Cairo, the syrup makers.
They are.
21-7 loss in week 2. Last week, they lose a tough one to Washington, 28-24. I look for them to get back on track this week.
Gators and to win.
Next, we got Godby is actually 0-4. Typo on my sheet here. 4 close losses, but they're heading to Niceville. It won't be that close.
No. Might be early, but I think Niceville pull away.
Next to our Washington 2-1. Probably one of the best games in Escambia County this week. Washington 2 ahead, heading to West Florida 3-0.
We'll
Coach
see.
Ryan Onka getting it done at Washington with the upset last week, and you got
West
an
Florida.
undefeated
We've
season.
seen West Florida. We'll see what Washington's made of a very emotional win. And for that matter, West Florida. A big game, bragging rights in Escambia County. I'm going to go with West Florida here. They're at home, or at least they'll be at home. They're labeled a home. I don't think they have a home stadium. But
a young man responded to my post today on my power rankings and asked why Washington wasn't in there yet, and where I base my facts. What you see is based on my own opinion. I've been covering high school football in the Panhandle for over 10 years now, and but it's just my opinion. But if they continue to play the way that they have been playing, they will be back in my top 7 rather shortly. I am going with Washington on the road.
all right. Another team to keep an eye on to back up to the Crestview game. If Choctaw beats Crestview, they very well could be in your top 7 or 8.
Most definitely at 3-1. One of those teams will be definitely in it because they will be 4-1. Fort Walton Beach struggling to get points on the board. 0-4. They head up north to Enterprise, Alabama, take on a 4-1 Enterprise team, and I look for Enterprise to run all over Fort Walton Beach in this one.
Enterprise.
Next, we had Florida High heads over to Madison County. Should be a great matchup.
Yeah.
But I think Florida High is loaded this year and playing lights out. I'm going with Florida High venturing into Boot Hill to take their boots off and come home with the victory.
Madison County with all the bridges. That loss last week, Madison County,
Because Childs has not been playing well this year.
No. It was on Madison County. It was on the road. Of course, it wasn't that long of a – Madison County's not that far from Tallahassee. I got to go with Florida High. Gosh, hard to pick against Madison County at home.
Florida A&M, FAMU 0-3 heading to Wakulla, 2-1. The War Eagles should win this one rather easily.
They won a close one last week.
10-9.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the War Eagles.
Barry Cleese getting it done. He always finds a way to win over there at Wakulla. Bay 1-2 heading to South Walton. And Bay has been struggling on the offensive side of the ball, and that is one team you do not want to face when you're struggling to score.
Mercy.
As Coach Phil teases South Walton Seahawks.
How many yards will Kemper pass this week? I think it's going to be a running clock in the second half. South Walton big.
Catholic 1-2 after their idle week heading to Pine Forest. Should be an interesting matchup between the Eagles and the Crusaders this week. I'm going to go with the home team in a close one here over Catholic.
Right, I think Catholic beat another Catholic team, State Stanislaus, a couple of weeks back. I'm going to go with Pine Forest as well.
Mariana 2-2 facing off with Walton. Walton has looked good, really good 3 weeks. 1 week against South Walton as the Seahawks won the county matchup between Walton. They kind of shut them down. I'm going with Walton at home in this one.
I'm going to go with Mariana in an upset.
Ooh, Bob going with the upset. It says not. Oh, you didn't use it.
I didn't.
That was me.
Yeah. No, you didn't use it. You stop.
Gadsden County 0-3 heading up to Dothan. Dothan 1-3 on the season. I'm going to go with Dothan at home. Don't know much about either one of these teams.
I'll go with Dothan.
Freeport 3-1, a tough loss to Bluntstown. Coach Bo Johnson has got those guys playing the Tigers over there in Bluntstown. But they're going to Chipley this week and facing off an offense that had over 400 yards rushing last week. And I look for Chipley to get it done again. But Freeport will battle with quarterback Ashton Nunes at the helm.
Yeah, he very well could keep Freeport in the game. I'm going to go with the Tigers at home.
Rutherford heading over to Port St. Joe. The Tiger Sharks undefeated on the season. I think they're going to win this one rather easily.
Also.
Young Kids in Motion Academy heading to Bluntstown. I had to double check to see if that game's still on the schedule. It's a late one, a late change. So they may have. We're going to go ahead and pick it. We're going to pick Bluntstown either way.
Yes.
If the game is not played, we'll just cancel that one. Weewa 0-3 heading over to Bozeman to face off with the Bucks. Weewa struggling at 0-3, and I'm going to go with Bozeman at home.
Go Bucks.
North Bay Haven to Buccaneers heading to Cottondale 0-3. North Bay Haven 1-2. Both teams really struggling on offense. I'm going to go with the visitors, North Bay Haven.
Yeah, North Bay Haven they have two campuses, as you know, in north and the south. They've really been bit by the COVID bug. I'm going to go with the visitors as well.
So Bob taking the Buccaneers. Graceville 0-3 heading to Liberty County. Liberty County having a quiet year so far, 3-1 on the season. They should go to 4-1 in this one.
I agree. What is Graceville a Tiger also?
They are.
Yeah.
St. John Paul II, 2-2 on the season, heading to Sneeds. Sneeds needs a bounce back win. This should be an interesting game between these two.
I agree. Would have been closer if it was in Tallahassee, but I'm going to go with Sneeds.
I'm going to go with Sneeds. I'm still debating on this one, Bob. It's tough to pick against Sneeds.
At home.
Offensively, they put a lot of points on the board. Stingy defense. St. John Paul's had a steady season at 2-2. Their losses are to higher classification teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Sneeds as well.
They put some points on the board in one of their last two contests.
Both these next two teams, Jefferson County 0-3 at Vernon 0-2. Both teams kind of struggling on both sides of the ball this year. But I'm going to go with the Yellow Jackets at home.
Go Vernon.
Next, we move over to the Rocky Bayou after a big win last week on the road all the way over in St. Augustine. They're going to host Franklin County. And I believe Franklin County is the Seahawks as well, if I
I
remember
think,
right.
I think you're right.
I'm going to go with Rocky Bayou to go 3-2. Okay, we got someone that's having too much fun.
I think, Rocky Bayou plays well at home, and I'm going to go with Rocky Bayou as well.
Before we move on the games as well, honestly, if you don't want to participate nicely in our YouTube live chat, please just go away. I don't need all your comments on the page and what you're posting that I find very offensive.
Yes.
So please just go away. You know what? We come out here and try to do a high school show, and the last thing I need is someone like you going out there and putting what you are on page here, and I really don't appreciate it. So please just go enjoy your Wednesday night elsewhere.
Exactly.
And Bob taking Rocky Bayou.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Next we have Lighthouse hosting Acaline's Angel Academy. Lighthouse with their first home game. They were supposed to be last week. It was canceled. So I'm going to go with Lighthouse at home because I don't know a darn thing about the other team.
Just down the road, new stadium.
Yep.
I'm
Is that off of Oriole Beach Drive?
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
So there's our picks. You're going to have to tune in next week to find out how we did to high school. Now we're going to flip the page, and we're going to head on to college.
We have games Thursday.
We have games on
Thursday and
one
Friday.
game. We're only going to pick one game. Last week, I edged Bob out by a single game, and I went 19-6. Bob, respectable 18-7, 72%, 76%.
Probably the Florida State game.
You did take Florida State again, didn't you?
I did. And wait till this week. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, Joe and Coach for having our back here and trying to get this young man off of here, and really don't appreciate it one bit. But let's get over to college. Let's talk some sports. 19-6, 18-7, or most of the games we picked. The only one's different was the Florida State Wake Forest game, and you took Virginia Tech. I took West Virginia. I took Indiana. You took Cincy. So we ended up one game apart.
Yep.
We're going to go ahead and pick Thursday night. Marshall, the Thundering Herd of Marshall.
We are.
Head to North Carolina to take on App State, 2-1.
We are.
Marshall. That one I will answer.
Oh, yeah.
I will not do the other one.
You
that
know,
you continue to get me to try to say that I won't say.
I'm going to go, boys, I'm going to go with App State.
I'm going to go with App State as well. Friday night game, Wake Forest. This should be a good one. Wake Forest 3-0 traveling to Virginia to take on 2-1 Cavaliers. They gave up 59 to North Carolina last week, but they did put up, I believe, 35 or I think it was 35 points last week. But I am going to go.
They've got a great offense.
With Cavaliers at home.
I'm going to go with Wake Fungus Among Us. That is, Coach Tiza, that is, Fort Walton played we were talking about it one night, and so I think Coach Stevens, I know what it was. It was Pine Forest. He called them the Pine Cones. Coach Stevens did, but we love Coach Stevens. We love Coach Teaser. I'm going to go I'm going to go with Wake Forest. I was impressed. I don't know if it was their offense. I don't know if it was Florida State's defense, if it was a combination. I'm going to go with Wake Forest against a lot of the prognosticators. I think Virginia is favored in that game, but I'll go with the Demon Deacons.
We're going to head on to Saturday for some 11 o'clock games. Villanova 3-0, an FCS goal in football only.
Right.
And going to Penn State to Happy Valley, a big win for Penn State last week against Auburn. I'm going with the Nittany Lions.
Villanova doesn't have to travel very far. They're outside of Philadelphia, I do believe. Very impressed. You know, whiteout games just don't. They haven't been very successful. So I was impressed with Penn State and how well they played against Auburn. I can't remember who. I think I picked Auburn in that game, but I was very impressed. Coach Franklin's done a heck of a job at Penn State with all these had to face. He came from Vanderbilt, and people said, Vanderbilt, what was the administration drinking? What kind of Kool-Aid were they drinking? And Coach Franklin's really turned that program around. I think you always gotta hold your breath if you're a team like Penn State who comes off a big win against an SEC school, another Power 5 school, and so I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions here. It could be close early. There could be some hangover effect from Penn State, but I think the Nittany Lions will get it done. I think very possibly. We'll see what Ohio State does the rest of the way, but Penn State, they've got some tough games ahead. I think they play Michigan.
Michigan State.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Nittany Lions in this one over Villanova.
Okay, next we're going to head back to Virginia. This one's Richmond, the Spiders, 2-1, heading to Virginia Tech, take on the Hokies. I'm going with the Sandman in this one.
Hokie high.
Another FCS game versus an FBS school.
Yep.
LSU 2-1, heading to Mississippi State. Mississippi State loses at home last week, I believe. Yeah. And they're 2-1. I look for LSU to right the ship this week against Mississippi State.
Well, hey, Bill, this is Coach O butting into your program here. I just finished off.
You're welcome anytime, Coach.
Well, I just finished off a pile of Red Bulls, and we got a tough ball game in Jackson, Mississippi. It's hard to get to Jackson, Mississippi. But anyway, after I finish a few more Red Bulls.
How about Starkville?
I said Jackson.
You took a wrong turn, Coach.
I thought we were going to Albuquerque.
No, we're going to Starkville.
All right.
Stark Vegas.
Vegas. They got any slot machines there?
I'm sure they got some. Not too far.
Coach O says we're going to win this week, and I think Seminole Bob is going to pick LSU. Go Tigers. Fight hard.
I'm going with the Tigers as well. Georgia heading it back to Tennessee. They're going against Vanderbilt. That should not be much of a game in this one.
Do you think Vanderbilt?
Well, it's a revenge game, but it's not a revenge game because they canceled their game last year against Georgia.
Right.
So Georgia is going to go in and just wipe the field with them this week, saying, you didn't want to play us last week. You cost us a win. They're not going to be too kind this Saturday.
I started to say, do you think Vanderbilt will ever give up football? But as much money as they make with the sharing,
they get equal share as everybody else does in the SEC.
That's
so
right.
Why not?
Right.
And they're developing one heck of a baseball program, and and some other sports as well. But I'm going to go with Georgia on the road at Vanderbilt.
I'm going to go with the Dogs. Go Dogs.
Next, We have the house divided game in the Hamill household.
Oh,
You know what?
that's
I already
right.
deal with it twice a year when the Packers play the Bears.
Right.
So
3
now
times.
I got to
Oh,
face
yeah.
off Notre Dame playing Wisconsin in my home stadium, Soldier Field.
A place you've been. You watched.
I've been
Brady.
to one game. I've been to Soldier Field once, and that just came up on my timeline yesterday.
Oh, did it really?
It was been
Yeah.
2 years
Okay.
since we actually no, it was 3 years because they faced him in 2018. And that was actually my dad's first trip ever to Soldier Field, and he's a big Bears fan. He got to see his grandson play
That's awesome.
at Soldier Field.
That was
So
awesome.
that was my first game, and Notre Dame has been struggling a little bit. They are 3-0. Wisconsin 1-1. They were on idle last week. 2 hours from Madison, 2 hours from South Bend.
How good is Notre Dame?
How good is Notre Dame? And
Their effort against Florida State, and we've seen what Florida State's done since then.
and Jack Cohen going up against his former team.
That's right.
How is he gonna perform against his?
Oh, I think he's going to do well. To be honest with you, I think Notre Dame will score early and often. Wisconsin's continues to have a nice running game, but I'm going to go with the Irish. I don't know how you can call it on the road. Is this supposed to be a neutral site game, or is this a home game for Wisconsin?
Well, this was a home game for Notre Dame because last year they were supposed to play at Lambeau Field,
Okay.
which Wisconsin would have been the home team.
Right.
So now they moved that game to 2025.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to play it, and by that time, hopefully, my wife and I will be able to maybe get some tickets because they're not cheap. The Leprechaun series or whatever they call it.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those games, and
Well, I'm sorry to the producer.
you're going with my Irish.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tight game.
I've got a couch and a spare room for you.
You know, you're the second person that has offered me a place. Because Matlock, he lives just down the street from me.
I didn't know that.
On the air tonight, when he was talking about this game, he goes, "Bill, I got an extra room for you." Well, you know what? We've been together, been married for 31 years, been married
Yeah. That's awesome.
31 years, been together for about 32 years. And actually, it has been coming up on 32 years. Yeah, it has been 32 years. And we've made it through 60-some Bears-Packers matchups. One college game isn't going to affect us.
I mean, it does add a twist that the former quarterback of Wisconsin is now at Notre Dame, kind of thing. Just like I think Florida State had the offensive guard that was a transfer from Notre Dame in the game. Yeah, I think the Irish is sorry. I love you, producer, but Notre Dame's going to win.
And I'm sure she's watching.
Yeah.
So I'll hear about it when I get home. But she expects nothing less. I root for Notre Dame. I pick Notre Dame to win if they're playing Alabama. They're my team, and I don't hardly ever pick against my team.
What are you going to watch it in the same room?
Well, it starts at 11. Our show runs till, speaking of our show, our Saturday morning show. Good segue there, Bob. From 8 to noon on 100.3 FM, 97.1 out of Pensacola. We are sportsradio.com. You can catch the Southern Gentleman Sports Show from 8 a.m. to noon, and we'll be talking. So I will be home a little bit late. Probably be about halftime by the time I get home. Hopefully the game will be far enough apart. So I'll be in one room. We've learned we don't watch the game in the same room. I'll go to the bedroom so she can watch the big screen in the living room.
So, do you have Sirius on your new car?
No,
Okay. I was gonna
chose
say,
not to.
I listened to Darkwing. Thank you.
Tim checking in. Thanks, Tim.
Penn State by 17, Joe, huh?
At least. Villanova and FCF school in football. So
That'd be a great basketball game, too.
we're both going with Notre Dame.
Yep.
UMass heading to Coastal Carolina. This one's going to be over by 5 minutes into the game.
Oh,
Coastal
that's a punt.
Carolina. Coastal
Because
Carolina.
they're the Minute Men. Very good.
You kill me sometimes, Bob. Washington State up 14-0 late in the first half against USC.
Yep.
USC ran off 45 straight points for the victory. Utah wins this one over the Cougs.
We'll see. Utah lost to BYU last week.
BYU's shaping up to be a pretty darn good team again.
And is BYU perhaps the future of that conference? Future power. I'm going to go with the Utes.
They're moving to the Big 12.
Yep.
We're both going with Utah. Louisville 2-1, heading to Tallahassee 0-3. Did not see that coming in.
Yeah, no, I mean I didn't either. I had a meeting in Panama City, and I listened to the second half of the Florida State Wake Forest game. Listened to it on our Sirius radio. And then I listened to Monday night. I had another meeting, and I listened to the Coach Norvell show, and he was very upbeat. Florida State faces a quarterback who can throw the ball and run the ball. He's dangerous. I'm going to go with
Malik is his first name.
Yeah.
I can't remember his last name.
Florida State's first of 2 home games. They got Louisville this week.
Louisville.
Or Louisville.
What's the capital of Kentucky?
Frankfurt.
He's got that right.
You
couldn't pull that one over on you.
No, you've asked me that 2 shows ago. Florida State plays Louisville this week in Syracuse, the first week of the season. I'm going to go with the Noles. Bounce back win. They need to. I don't like the 2 quarterback system at all. They need to stay with Milton. And
Joe goes Georgia over Vandy 100-7.
Joe,
that's probably not too far off.
Yeah. Well, Georgia's got a good baseball program. That'd be a good baseball game. I'm going to go with the Noles at home. Very close. Maybe a field goal game.
Not so fast, my friend. The Cardinals are going to come in and send Florida State to an 0-4 start.
And didn't not so fast, my friend, didn't he coach also at Louisville?
Who's that?
Corso? No, he coached at Indiana.
He coached at Indiana.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Noles.
Bob's going with the Noles. I'm going with Louisville. Rutgers 3-0. Mm-hmm. The Scarlet Knights are off to a 3-0 start, but they're playing Michigan. That is that team up north finally back?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to go with Michigan at home.
Me as well. Clemson struggling on offense, but their defense is rock. Their defense is rock solid. One of the top defenses in the country. Going to face off with the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack almost upset them a couple of years ago in Clemson. I'm still going with Clemson in this one.
You know, 2-3 years ago, Alabama and Florida State played in a kickoff game. If you remember, DeAndre Francois got hurt in the game, the quarterback at that time for Florida State. And Florida State that season, maybe 2-3 years ago, Florida State was never the same. Clemson reminds me of that Florida State team losing to an SEC team, Georgia.
What a defensive battle that was.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Georgia Tech, who they beat 14-3, something like that, and I just don't trust Clemson, to be honest with you.
Am I smelling a Wolfpack victory here out of your mouth?
No.
Go with Clemson. Next, we've got Iowa State, the Cyclones, heading down to Texas to take on the Baylor Bears 3-0. I got to pull up it probably helps if we had some numbers to go with that. Let me pull it up here real quick.
Yeah, some of these schools,
I think Dave Aranda is still the head coach down there, old Badger defensive coordinator, and also came from LSU.
He inherited a mess there. I'm going to go with the Cyclones in an upset. Or, I don't know, some would say it was an upset. A lot of folks had a high hopes for Iowa State. Maybe they, take the conference, take the mantle away. But, yeah, they faced off against their rival, Iowa, and lost.
We got Iowa State is the 14th ranked team, Baylor 3-0, and Iowa State is favored by 7.
I'm going to go with the Cyclones and their ugly jerseys to win.
That's not nice, Bob. Akron 1-2. The Zips have faced Auburn. This week their Badgers on my mind.
Ohio State's fourth string team can probably beat Akron.
Auburn beat them 62-10.
Yeah.
Ohio State might put 70 spot on them this week.
Could be.
Colorado State, first victory of the season as they went into the Holy Toledo.
Holy Toledo.
But they're going into Iowa this week, and the Hawkeyes are playing good football here early on in the season.
Well, Dante will be able to wave at the Children's Hospital, one of the great traditions in college football, right behind the stadium. I'm going with the Hawkeyes as well. Sorry, Mrs. Wright, Dante, and Dad. Iowa's just got too much punch.
They're 23-point favorites.
They could be the front runners in the Big Ten.
Okay, next we head down to Jerry's World in Texas. Texas A&M 3-0 taking on the Razorbacks, and Sam Pittman, they're 3-0 on the season. And this is my upset of the week.
Jerry Jones.
Arkansas goes to 4-0 as they upset Texas A&M.
Wow. Jerry Jones, an alum of Arkansas. That's how that went down with playing in Jerry's World.
And Arkansas will be the home team.
I'm going to go with the Razorbacks. I think that's a good pick.
UCLA 2-1 heading to Stanford. You say lost to a tough Fresno State team is turned out pretty good. Coach Tedford, I believe, is still out there at Fresno State. And Stanford back-to-back wins after losing their first game. I look for UCLA to rebound on the road.
I'll take UCLA, Upper Crestview, Lower Alabama. Never heard that?
It's been a while since I've heard that. Tennessee heading to Florida. Sorry, Shanky. I know he was checking in earlier on the show. We appreciate you, all of our patronage of all of you of Irish Bill's Twist on Sports and our Friday night broadcast as well. But I'm sorry. I was very impressed with Florida after getting down 18 in the first quarter, how they fought back and had a chance to come back and possibly even win that game. I'm going to Florida at home.
When Wake Forest went up by 21 or 24, I actually turned off the Seminole game and listened, and I watched the final minutes of the Florida game. I don't know if any, but if you're a pure football fan, this year the Gators are definitely better than the Seminoles. Hasn't always been that way. The whole Huggins family, my wife's side, are all Gators. But I was impressed. With the Gators. I think
and with that victory, do you think that Florida has kind of opened up the eyes of every other team to follow on Alabama's schedule of what it takes to stay in the game? Not say you're going to beat Alabama, to stay in the game with Alabama.
Right. Longevity. And their quarterback, Emory
Jones,
played very well, balanced attack.
Malik Cunningham is the quarterback for Lowell. Thanks, Joe, for checking on. We ask a question and Joe answers it for us.
Malik Cunningham. So the tickets at the Notre Dame game are between 100.
Upper deck.
Upper deck.
Upper level tickets are between 98 and 140.
Yeah, but you could say you were there though.
Yeah.
You'd spend
But
that
where are you
much.
going to be at? There's some places at Soldier Field up in the corners that you're up there a ways. I was fortunate at Brady's game since it was a HBCU game.
Right.
We were 6 rows behind the bench, which was awesome.
I had tickets to an LSU Florida State game, and at LSU, and actually had 2 sets, and I sat behind the FSU bench. That was the tickets I got in the LSU section, right behind the Florida State bench, and the other tickets were upper deck. And if you know anything about the stadium in Baton Rouge, not Death Valley, Death.
Yes, they're both Death Valley.
Death
That
Valley.
and Clemson.
The ticket said WU on it, and I asked the guy getting us in, what does WU stand for? He said, way up. So I imagine that sounds kind of like
I
it.
missed a game.
Way up.
Forgot the Auburn games since they're
I'm gonna go with the Gators. Some people are saying, oh, the Gators, emotional loss, moral victory. Don't tell the Gators in the locker room that. I mean, you and I may think it's a moral victory, and it may spur Florida on, and it may show that Georgia could be in trouble when they play the Gators. I don't know, but I'm going to pick the Gators in this game. Sorry, Tennessee Shanky, I don't see it. If the game was in Tennessee, I wouldn't see it. But coach has got to watch for a little bit of a drop-off in emotions after a big loss.
Next, we're going to head back into Georgia. This time, Georgia Tech taking on UNC, and the offense got rolling for Tar Heels last week. I'm looking for it to continue to roll in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, when Georgia Tech I think they've abandoned that triple option.
They have
When Paul
Johnson.
Johnson left, but I'm going to go with the Tar Heels.
Next, we're going to go to Alabama, Tuscaloosa, 3-0 on the season. They're hosting Southern Miss. This used to be a good matchup years ago,
When Brett Favre played there.
but not this time.
No,
Alabama
No.
will take them out to the woodshed in this
The
one.
fifth-string quarterback could start, and they'd still beat them by 50.
West Virginia, 2-1, opening up Big 12 action at Oklahoma.
West Virginia had a pretty big lead on Virginia Tech last week, and they let them creep in the game. Virginia Tech got down into the 5-yard line and couldn't score. And West Virginia, who we have a Navarre alum there at West Virginia.
Jordan Jefferson.
West Virginia's defense stood up. I think this will be a great game to watch. Could be close early. I don't know.
I'm going with Oklahoma in this one.
If West Virginia's first half team plays 4 quarters, then I would pick an upset. I don't trust them. I hate picking against them in this one. I initially, during the week when I saw it on the schedule, I was thinking West Virginia, but I think Oklahoma's got too much offense. It could be a 50-30 game, that kind of game.
Okay, now we got Colorado 1-2 heading to Arizona State, who lost at BYU last week in a tough game. I'm going with Arizona State. Get back on the winning track.
Sun Devils all the way.
Arizona 0-3 heading to Oregon. A mismatch here. The Ducks, quack, quack.
The Quack Attack.
And one game I forgot to put on there, we got to pick Auburn. Georgia State traveling to Auburn. Auburn looking to rebound over their loss to Penn State. And we go with Auburn and the Fighting Nick Brahms. You like that?
He does, gosh, what a great representative of the Navarre community. And he has been so patient until he earned his start, I think, in one of his junior years. But I'm going to go with Auburn on this one as well.
Well, there's our picks. You're going to have to tune in next week. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll come back with the rest of our show. This is Irish Bill's Twist on Sports from Culver's in downtown Navarre. Honey and Randy Smith, the owners here also the one in Destin and Fort Walton Beach. You want a Butterburger, you want custard, you want fish. They even have fish here. Come on out.
Chicken is to die for.
It is. So we're going to go ahead, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be back after this break.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track. Well, they're seeing to it that they are properly fed, have good transportation, are making sure that all Raider fans can hear all the exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
If you want to move better, feel better, and live better pain-free, Dr. Paul Britt at Integrative Chiropractic Solutions is the only certified sports chiropractor for Gulf Breeze and Navarre. He can address your sports injuries quickly and effectively, and after only 4 visits on average with a 96% resolution rate. So give Integrative Chiropractic Solutions a call today at 850-916-9304 or book online at drpaulbritt.com. That's 850-916-9304 or online at drpaulbritt.com. They want to fix you swiftly to get you back in the game.
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
Welcome back to Irish Bill's Twist on Sports for our final segment of this evening, September 22nd, 2021. And we're going to head to Navarre Raiders. Where are they now? Well, we're not going to go over all their stats and everything. You can also get that on my Facebook page as well. Jets running back Mike Carter had his best game of the season so far. Last week he had 11 carries for 59 yards, 2 catches for 29 yards. And Michael Sandel finished up his first-year rookie ball for the Houston Astros in Fayetteville. They are the Woodpeckers Fayetteville. He finished with 6 home runs, 22 RBI, 9 stolen bases, 287 average. And rest of it, we're just going to go over Nick Brahms is still at Auburn. They're facing off at Georgia State this week. Maryville's Bo Herring. They're playing at Averett. Huntington College was off last week, so Mark Struck, Daryl Hickson, Garrett Schluter, Tyler England. Tyler's still recovering. He had surgery on his arm. And also, we got a couple others, Jabari Mitchell and Bailey Houston. So we got 7 Raiders in Montgomery, Alabama at Huntington.
Do they take a van when they go back and forth on
They should.
vacation or holidays?
West Virginia's, we already talked about Jordan Jefferson at West Virginia. They'll be at Oklahoma. Colorado State's Dante Wright. They'll be at Iowa this week. I think Omari Green is playing up at Lake Erie College. I think he's redshirted this year. But they're off to a 3-0 start. They'll be at Southwest Baptist, who UWF played a couple weekends ago and demolished.
Yes.
And Eastern Tennessee's Quinn Caballero, they're 3-0 on the season. They'll be at Sanford in a tough game this week.
Yeah.
Louisiana, James Seacrest, they'll be on the road at Georgia Southern. They're 2-1 on the season. Harding's Mitchell Hunt, redshirt sophomore. He's at Harding playing for the Bison. Ouachita Baptist, they'll be at Verse this week at home. North Carolina Wesleyan defensive back Becky Domino and Zachary Marquise, they're playing for North Carolina Wesleyan. And they lost to Brevard this past weekend. And they'll be in LaGrange, Georgia this week, the home of Emory Jones. And speaking of Florida quarterbacks, I think Anthony Richardson should be back this week as well.
Good.
Recovering from a hamstring pull. So good to see him back in the backfield there for the Gators. Let's see who else we got here. Valdosta State University's Elijah Melendez. They're off to a 3-0 start. He didn't play in a 21-3 win over Albany State this last week, and they'll be hosting Shorter University this Saturday. And that should be not much of a game. Shorter's actually won 2 games already this season. They're 2-1.
That's as many as they won in, 4 years?
5. 5 years. And Muskingum University wide receiver Evan Macon, he's a freshman there. They're 2-1 on the season. They lost to Marietta last week, and they'll be hosting Wilmington in Zanesville High School Stadium this Saturday.
Zanesville. You know,
I've been to Zanesville before.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
A to Z. Michael Carter plays at Denver. He goes back to
against his running back mate from North Carolina.
That's right.
Javonte Williams will be in the backfield for Denver. Denver 2-0, and the Jets
Javonte knows how to handle that high altitude.
He does. He's been out there for a few years.
How
now.
far is where he played college from Denver? Fort Collins.
Fort Collins? I'm not sure. I've never been to Colorado.
Okay.
Surprised, huh?
Yeah, you've been all over. I'm surprised on your TDYs you didn't.
But
make
Dante will be in Iowa. They play this in Iowa this week, so.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking Michael Carter, and he played at North Carolina.
Yeah.
Anyway, start drinking that Kool-Aid again, Bob. Doing. Yes, I went to Florida State.
And Joe's got Joe. I think you need to start drinking too. Or he's been drinking it because he's picking Arizona over Oregon. I don't see that one happening any day of the week. And but a lot of great Navarre players. I mean, they're still out there producing. They're representing Navarre quite well, and they continue to each and every year. Let's head over to the Gulf South Conference, where we still have 4 undefeated teams on the season. West Georgia, Valdosta State, West Alabama, and West Florida. West Florida is really looking strong. Ooh. They went out to Texas this past week and beat Texas Commerce, who beat them in a championship game in 2017 or 18?
17, I think.
And then in 2019, they won the national title. But then you got North Greenville, Shorter, and Delta State all 2-1. Mississippi College 1-1. West Alabama played North American University. I'm not even sure where that's at. And by the score, they hung an 80 spot on them last week.
Who?
West Alabama over North American University, 80-0 last Saturday. Shorter University goes to Atlanta and knocks off Clark Atlanta 38-17. Most points that Shorter has scored in quite a while. Mississippi College over University of Fort Lauderdale, 63-0. And that team is also on West Florida's schedule as well. And they lost
Mississippi College or University.
And they lost to Mississippi College 63-0. University of Fort Lauderdale must be a new school. West Georgia in the best game of the weekend in the Gulf South Conference edges Delta State 27-26. West Florida over Texas A&M Commerce 35-17. The Citadel takes out North Greenville 45-13, and Valdosta State takes out Albany State 21-3. This week's games, we got a couple of conference games as West Georgia will be at Shorter. And West Alabama will be at Mississippi College. Other games, Delta State at Jackson State, and the University of Fort Lauderdale will be at West Florida. And you want to see some fireworks at Blue Wahoo Stadium, you're going to see a lot of them this Saturday when they take on Fort Lauderdale, who lost by 63 last week. And North Greenville's traveling to Erskine College. That's Gulf South Conference action and standings. Now let's move over to the SIAC, where our last segment of the show before we have our last topic before we go off on Bob's Twisted Take. Mm-hmm. Last week, Lane University knocks off Fort Valley State 27-24. Shaw University takes out Central State, who will be Miles' opponent this week. And Miles has a little bit of payback because in 2019, when we traveled up to Ohio, it rained, and it rained.
Probably
it was
still
like 38 degrees.
Oh, gosh.
And the field was basically almost unplayable, and Miles lost on a last-second field goal, 15-13 in that game. So a little bit of payback coming back for the Marauders.
How long did it take you to warm up after the game?
It took a while.
Because you're not a coffee drinker.
Took a hot shower, then we went out and got a big meal and everything, and we ended up drying up. And the next day, we were supposed to be taking on standby back our flight back to Ohio or back to Florida. We couldn't get on a plane, so here it is 2:30 in the afternoon on Sunday. We have to rent a car from Dayton, Ohio, and drive back. 11.5-hour drive, and we both had to be to work Monday morning.
Shut the front door.
So not only did they lose, but we had a long trip home. And so Central State, you're going to get a little bit of something from Miles this week.
You're going to be sent for.
Yeah, I like that. Sent for. Tennessee State over Kentucky State, 41-7. Tuskegee over Edward Waters, 23-6. Miles gets their first win, a 37-14 win over Morehouse College. Savannah State over Benedict, 41-34. And Allen over Livingston College, 34-32. On the season, Savannah State, Albany State, Benedict, all 2-1. Clark Atlanta and Fort Valley State, 1-2. Morehouse College, 0-2. And Savannah State with the only conference win in the eastern side of the bracket. In the western, Lane College 2-1. The rest of the teams are 1-2. Kentucky State, Miles College, Tuskegee, and Central State. Kentucky State and Lane College both with victories in the conference play. And that wraps up the SIAC and Gulf South Conference. And now we're going to head on over to Bob's Twisted Take. What you got for me tonight, Bob?
Not much of a twisted take, just for the Florida State fans that may be listening. Hang in there. In the words of Nick Saban, it's a process, okay? And, it's frustrating, I know, and Bill, you may be right. It may be 0-4. But Seminole fans, hang in there. I think, obviously, they'll say, well, you can't go anywhere but up. Yeah, I think it's going to start this weekend. And with a win over Louisville, very winnable game at Syracuse, and easily can be 2-3, on the year. Rest of the schedule gets tougher, but I'm telling you, I think for this year, I think Milton, our quarterback, I don't like the two quarterback system. Seminole fans, be patient with your team. Win, lose, or draw. Be patient with your team. And if they lose, well, basketball season's just around the corner. But seriously, hang in there. Hang in there with your team. Your team may be Central State College this week. And if they get their pants beat off, you still support them. Or if you're North Fort Lauderdale University, I don't even know what their mascot is, and they got to come to Pensacola to play West Florida, the defending national champions. What? How big, how big of, you still root for your team. Win, lose, or draw, all right? I know.
We're going to find out the name of the nickname.
And so my simple, very simple twisted take is, what's that old song? Be true to your school.
There you go.
Be true to your school. Win, lose, or draw. It's tough watching, listening, but better times are ahead for Florida State. I believe it. I'm a Seminole through and through. Is it time to get rid of Mike Norvell? No.
They are the Eagles of University of Fort Lauderdale Eagles.
Eagles against the Argonauts. The Snails.
The Snails. The Fighting Snails.
The Fighting Snails. So be true to your school, all right? And guess what? As the song says, Fort Collins is about 60 miles. That's the song.
The song says that? 60 miles. Is that a song?
Drive. No. Be true to your school. The sun will come up tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. That's my week 5 twisted take. Looking forward to some football. I get to ride with you to Tallytown.
Mike Householder are going to be joining us as well. He'll be on the camera on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever booth the coaches don't take, we get the other one.
Okay.
So I talked with Coach Jay Walls and Scott Murphy yesterday. So Coach says as long as his coaches get the one they want, we're happy with just to be inside.
Absolutely. And if we've got to go on the roof, we got to go on the roof.
Joe reminded me, he said, Bill, remember you said the same thing when I picked Arkansas over Texas. It's a different Arkansas team. They already had a victory under their belt. Arizona has yet to win on the season, and the Sun Devils have been they've been struggling.
Struggling? A game we didn't pick, Missouri at Boston College.
No, they're the Wildcats. Arizona's the Wildcats.
Yes.
Arizona State's
the Sun Devils. A game we did not pick, Missouri, going out of the SEC, going up against Boston College, ACC land. I've heard today that the quarterback for BC is not going to be able to play, perhaps an injury. I don't think that would change my pick. BC is going to be a quiet 4-0, 5-0.
But BC is going to be without their starting quarterback this week.
Right, I just said that.
Phil.
What's his name?
How much you know what? I got home after the game last Friday night. And the producer, she always gives me feedback. Well, now my daughter's still staying with us. She's got to go in surgery on Monday. So I'm going to take her on Monday morning.
Okay.
She looks at me, Dad, you never answer Bob's questions on the broadcast. He asks the question, you go right back to the play-by-play. So I will do a better job of answering your questions on future broadcasts.
And sometimes I step on you, which means I interrupt, and so I have to do a better job on that. But we're going to be on Eastern Time.
7 o'clock Eastern.
Friday.
6 o'clock Central.
And we'll go on the air at
5:30
Yeah.
Central Time.
Central Time.
So as you're getting home from dinner, while you're eating dinner, you can watch our Navarre against Leon on RESPILLSports.com.
Yep. And
we'll make the trip so you don't have to.
That's right. But but please do, if you can, support the Raiders. You're listening and watching. We expect a big
always a big following over there.
Yeah, exactly. And unless people, I'm taking Friday off. I need a mental health day as a teacher, and I've got so much comp time built up. I'm excited about the trip to Tallahassee, getting to meet Mr. Householder and bringing back a Raider win.
Most definitely. Well, until Friday night from Tallahassee, he's Seminole Bob. I'm still Irish Bill, and we'll be back on Friday night at the fairgrounds in Tallahassee. Remember, 6 o'clock Central kickoff,
Right.
7 o'clock Eastern. May the wind ever blow at your back, continue to blow at your back, be at your back. I messed up my saying. Here we go. But
May the
may the
wind
wind ever be at your back.
Yeah.
This is Irish
Amen.
Bill signing off.
Good night, Navarre, and God bless.